Welcome everybody to the Ready Return. Thanks so much for being here. I see Sarah is in the chat. I see a lot of other folks here as well. So whether you're here live, and there's going to be several of you that are here live, and also if you're watching the replay, because you could be watching it on YouTube, you could be watching it from, of course, if you are a member of Time Crafting Trust within the Time Crafting Trust community, welcome. If you were part of the Ready Retreat, which we did inside of the Time Crafting Trust community, and that was a few weeks ago, of course, welcome back. If you did it on your own, because you have the ability to do this at a self-paced level as well, welcome to this as well. If this is your first time, so let's say you're watching on YouTube live and you're watching the replay and you've not done this before, of course, you can go back to the earlier video in this. I'll pop it up here in the video as well in the replay. But if you want to check out the June Lyceum, where we talked about the idea of the retreat, you could check that out. And also in the description here, we have the materials that you might want to have to accompany this 90-minute retreat return that we are doing here today inside of the community. So, and inside, of course, here of YouTube. This is the first time we're actually doing it live on YouTube as well. So again, welcome. This is going to have a bit of a similar vibe to the Lyceums that I do, and very workshop oriented. So you can kind of see I've got a presentation and everything going on here as well. Now, what we're going to be doing here, just to kind of, I'm going to go through my notes here, is we are going to be spending the next 90 minutes or so in a structured form, but it's not going to be rigid. I don't want you to think about it in that regard. There is working time built in too. So if you're joining us at some point, although if you're here now, but as you make your way through, you might find that there's just some working with me and working with others. That's not an accident, that's totally intentional. So there is going to be time to do the work inside of this actual live stream. So let's say you're watching the replay and you're just getting underway. You can actually do this in real time. I'm not going to be doing any kind of pausing or anything like that. So you'll actually be able to do the work. So whether you're, again, watching this live or watching the replay, you'll be able to do that. This isn't really, again, even though the format or the layout may look like the Lyceums that I do, it's not a lecture or Lyceum. This is a working session. So I want you to be ready to be in it. So this is not a restart. I don't want people to think about this as a restart. If you've done your own retreat, if you've done the Ready Retreat either on your own or let's say you joined us in the live version, this is a course correction. And usually we do the Ready Retreat about 6 weeks prior to doing something like this. It was a little bit shorter this time. So for those of you, and those of you that actually completed the feedback survey, you also have the Ready Companion with you. That can help you through this event that we're going to do here as well. So let's talk about who's in the room. Before we begin, I want to kind of give everyone this orientation of sorts, get everybody kind of settled and reset so that we can move forward with intention. So there's going to be a few different groups here. And this is what you should have with you. And if you don't have it yet, you'll be able to go grab it. There's plenty of time, even if you want to read this slide and realize, oh, I need to go get this. You can do this as we're going through it. So if you did the Ready Retreat in May, I want you to bring your themes, your intentions, the work that you did on cadence. This session will build directly on that, okay? That's your primary material for today. So you'll see me at some point when we're working on this, that's what you'll see me doing as well. If you did the retreat on your own, similar. So if you did it at a self-paced nature, then you'll be able to do that as well. If you are a Time Crafting Trust community member who didn't do the retreat at all, just bring whatever intentions or plans that you have for this particular season. You've got enough to work with, so just do that. Again, you may want to combine that with what the next group has, which is those that attended the June Lyceum or watched the June Lyceum, whether they were there live or came after the fact. So I want you to bring that that retreat map with you. We have a link to it in the description for this video, so you can go ahead and grab that. And really, I want you to look particularly at exercises 5 and 6, the reentry problem, and then the summer invitation, because as we're doing this, of course, this is June of 2026. So the season that we generally have planned around, and this is typical for those that do the Ready Retreat, are from the Ready Retreat, the current Ready Retreat to the next one. And it's usually about 3 to 4 months. So in this instance, the next Ready Retreat we'll talk about a little bit later. Those that were in the Ready Retreat and Time Crafting Trust often choose to, kind of plan through to the next time that they do the Ready Retreat. And they do overlap as well. So if this time the Ready Retreat was in May, they would have planned the previous Ready Retreat until the end of May. That way, when they're in the Ready Retreat in May, they're planning for June. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're just stumbling upon this on YouTube and this is completely new to you, welcome. Like, you don't need any prior context to do the work. You could literally sit down with what you've got and just come as you are. So there's again, this is just the 4 kind of primary groups of folks that could be in the room here today. And I want you to, basically keep that in mind. We're all going to be working from a different place. Everyone starts from where they are. That's really, the only requirement. So you are returning with data. This is where we're at here. So you've had weeks of lived experience. Again, for those of you that did do the Ready Retreat or have already done some of the work, you've already got material to work with. I don't want you to think of this before we get started as a performance review. There's nothing here that needs to be proven. This is, again, we're leaning in with curiosity, not so much with judgment. All right? It's not a restart either. You're not starting from scratch. You have things already prepared. You may already have things underway. So we're not looking at this as a restart. If anything, it's more of a reset. Actually, it's funny, before we started the live stream today, I had to do a reset of sorts as well. I literally just came back yesterday from a trip to Boise, Idaho for Kit's Craft and Commerce event. I was gone for a week. And yesterday was a full day of travel, I think about 12 hours all told. And, getting back into the swing of things today, it took a bit of a reset. So that's how I want you to look at this. This is not a restart. You're not starting from scratch. This is a reset. And it's not a catch-up session either. So whatever has happened since you took the Ready Retreat, either self-paced on your own, or let's say you've done some other form of retreat through the June Lyceum that I presented earlier this month, everything that's happened since the retreat, your selection of what's happened is really the material. So what we're talking about here is just awareness, that second sphere of attention that I talk about in the productivity diet. We're talking about awareness and then recalibration. That's really the entire job of the Ready Return. And we call it the return because you're returning with data. You're returning with all of these things. You're not rebooting. You're not restarting. You're just really, there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to do as we go through these exercises today. So let's not think about this as catching up. Let's think about it as, this is where I am, and let's move forward. You're not starting over. You are returning with more information. Now, if something didn't move the way you expected, that's not failure. I don't want you to think about it that way. It's just data. Interestingly, having come back from this week-long work experience, the bulk of which was being in a room with really smart people, really dialed in folks, really big creative folks. There were things that I've changed and kind of, again, recalibrated or reevaluated is probably a better way to put it. And the propensity, I kind of lean towards like, oh, I messed up. Oh, these things that I had planned out, these weren't the right things to plan out. Not failure, just data, right? And doing this together is also helpful as well, because number one, you're accountable to others that are in the room, but also you get to kind of see that you're not alone in this space either. And believe me, being in a room with all of those folks, including people as successful as James Clear, Jay Papasan, a variety of others, you realize that they have the same things going on that you do. So again, that for me was data, right? So I want you to, again, come into this with, if things didn't go the way you set out for them to go, not failure, just data. And if life disrupted your plans, which literally it could have done just moments before we got started, I know it did for me a little bit, it's not a character flaw, it's just life. Life happens. We've got to give room and space and grace for life to unfold. And so, again, give yourself grace, give yourself honesty in that order. So we're going to start going through these phases today, and each of these phases, as we go through them, we're going to give you about 25 minutes or so to go through the entire phase. So I'll set a timer as we go through each exercise. I'll give you a bit of an introduction. I'll be able to respond in the comments as well here in the live stream. If you are watching this after the fact and you want to add some comments or data afterwards, feel free to do that. You can comment and I'll be returning, no pun intended, to this video to help you out along the way. If you are a Time Crafting Trust member, this video will also be inside of the course that we have. We have a course for the Ready Retreat. And so if you have comments or anything that you've got stuck on, or maybe a revelation that you've had, put that in the comments inside of that lesson, or you could put it in the discussion area as well that we have inside of the community. So this is not a one and done proposition. Again, our next retreat isn't for a few months, so we can build off of the one that we've already started. And as we go through each of these phases, I'm giving you basically the equivalent of a Pomodoro to work on this. So each of these phases, and there's 3 of them today, and then we'll, excuse me, and then we'll kind of see how things unfold. All right. So this first phase is called reflect. Literally this morning, I was having a conversation with one of my friends who happened to be at Craft and Commerce with me. And one of the things that Carl, my friend Carl, who literally during Craft and Commerce went around because he wanted to get more YouTube subscribers, my friend Carl Stabe, and he was challenged, go get more YouTube subscribers, go around, and he did. And so really, really great for Carl. But we chatted about this idea of taking time to reflect and not just consistently moving forward without that reflection period. And when you set plans during the Ready Retreat or any kind of retreat, you can't lose sight of that reflection period that you need to do as you make your way through that season. Because again, things can happen. So I take reflective practice pretty seriously because it's actually one of the 3 elements of time crafting. And so this phase is something that you can build on in a regular practice for you, whatever cadence works for you. It could be a daily journal entry, it could be a weekly review, as David Allen has shared so much in his Getting Things Done methodology, whatever fits your cadence, whatever works best for you. But in the instance of what we're doing here today, you need to inventory reality. You need to look honestly at what happened since the retreat. So if you took the Ready Retreat, what's happened since? And then resist the urge to fix it. So before we refine anything, we really need to understand clearly. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to return to the retreat work or wherever your intentions currently live, and then honestly look at what happened. So for those that were there live, and for those that took the Ready Retreat at a self-paced pace, no pun, I guess the redundancy there lives, revisit the themes, revisit your cadence from May, what you set out there in that work on cadence. What has moved? What didn't? I know that I recently put together again, for those that completed the feedback survey and completed at least a threshold of a percentage of the Ready Retreat program by a certain date, I built them something called the Ready Companion. And what's interesting is some folks has already also had another program for me called Your Clockwise Week. And what was interesting is I noticed that what someone got in their Clockwise Week, they didn't necessarily apply, or maybe the season had changed for when they were planning out their Ready Retreat. So there was a bit of a juxtaposition there. There was a bit of a I don't know if it's a misalignment because seasons have changed, but there was definitely a difference there. And the distinction needed to be looked at. And that's really what we're talking about here, is not necessarily in the context of those 2 programs, but this idea of, hey, what's changed? Now, I know for myself, again, going to this event, which I obviously didn't go to before the retreat, and I had no idea what would happen there, some things have moved. And then there's some things that didn't. If anything, some things have been more galvanized than they were before. So for those that have taken part in the Ready Retreat, I want you to look at that. Now, for those that have taken part in the June Lyceum or have downloaded the retreat map or working from that, just return to those exercises 5 and 6 that I mentioned earlier. The reentry problem and the summer invitation. What did you say that you'd protect? Now, again, I know the retreat that I did, that video I shared, it's only been a couple of weeks. So perhaps nothing has been done since then. Perhaps you didn't take the retreat yet. But this is an opportunity to think about the things that you said you'd protect, and maybe you've changed your mind. Or the things that you said you'd protect, and then you realized, hey, I may not be able to protect these as well as I thought. So revisit that. And then what actually happened? Either what happened that caused that to change, or what happened that has given you pause to think that you may not be able to protect them in the way that you intended. Now, for everybody, I want you to know your progress. Even the little bit of progress that you've made counts. Small. It doesn't matter across the board, personally and professionally. But then look at that gap, like not just what didn't happen, but why. And be honest with yourself. And don't forget to give yourself that grace along the way. Remember, we're not fixing here. We're just reflecting. All we're doing is basically putting the story out there. That's the goal of this. That's the aim of this phase, the reflect phase. So look at this and say, well, what didn't happen? And these italicized things that you see in the slide, this applies to all of those elements. So whether you took the retreat or whether you were part of the June Lyceum and you grabbed the retreat map, and just everybody. Was it the capacity? Did you underestimate how much time you'd be able to give to it? Did you overestimate? Was it clarity? Were there things missing that you didn't know that you needed? Was it, were there things that have come to light since then that have kind of created a bit more of a ripple effect, and therefore things aren't as clear as they once was? Competing priorities. Literally, Sarah's in the chat right now. Her and I, not a half hour before now, we're sitting, well, maybe an hour now because we're half hour in, but nonetheless, we're chatting about like, hey, there's some things that I set out to do that we're competing, and there's some changes that need to be made. Avoidance. For those that have taken the time crafting types assessment and they're an avoidant adapter like me, there might be some things that are avoidance, or you've got like maybe that's your dual type or what have you. And then maybe some unanticipated external forces, right? Literally not 15, 20 minutes ago, again, closer to a half hour ago, some external forces kind of shifted things for me as the way the days unfolded. Again, that going to that conference has shifted some things. So I really want you to sit with that during this exercise today. So what we're going to do is, as you reflect, I want you to think about these 4 things. I know I've given you a lot to think about, but I'll revisit these slides as we kind of make our way through the session here. So what did I actually commit to, and what happened? Where did expectation and reality diverge? What friction showed up? And was it internal or external? And that's really key, right? It's very easy to say, well, this external thing happened. And there's a lot of, again, the blame game can turn up. And then the shame game kind of keeps you from saying, hey, this is an internal thing, right? So keeping things open is really key during this phase when you're talking about friction, because again, life happens. And then what small progress happened that you might be overlooking? So name the gap and the reason for it. Both of those things matter. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take some time here to work on this, and once we're done, I'll come back and we'll get started with this reflection phase. So I'm going to go back. I think I should be able to go back. There we go. So this is what I want you to do, and I'll circle back to it. So I want you to reflect. So inventory reality. And here are some of those questions that you can ask. All right, so I'll fluctuate back and forth between those so that way you can kind of get a sense. If you want to screenshot these now, feel free. So that way you've got them. But those of you that already have everything you need, we're going to get started. So let's get going. I'm going to give you some time to work on this phase starting now. All right. And that's it for phase one. I'm going to bring something up on the screen that Tim, who's a member of Time Crafting Trust, thanks for being here, Tim, along with all the other Time Crafting Trust members before we move on, need lots more time. And yes, this kind of thing can take more time than, you would. We'll see if we can go to this view here. Maybe we'll get it. No, I think we're in the right view. Let's see. No, that's not the view we want. There we go, back to this view. So Tim, I do agree. It does take this kind of reflection can take time, especially the key here is not to try to fix things as you're doing it. Like, I think that's really, really important. So as we kind of make our way through, keep that in mind. And I do like what Sarah recommended, of course, too, which is I often screenshot the slides and go back to them after the event. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now and you want to screenshot those slides, you can go back and do that as well. I think that's worth noting. All right, let's move on to the next phase, which is recalibrate. So you've got the makings of an honest picture now. All right. This is kind of where we decide what still belongs. And this builds upon the reflection phase when you think about it. You may have already been doing some of this, I think, in phase two. You might have been that might have been creeping into phase one. All right. So this is where you're going to decide what still belongs and then adjust the rest. Okay. Some of these intentions you're going to keep. Like, do these intentions still deserve your energy? Like, some may need adjusting and some may just need releasing. You can't do everything everywhere all at once, as that movie title goes. So some you'll just reshape. Maybe you'll make them smaller. Maybe you'll just do a portion of it. Some you'll just completely sit down on purpose, right? So when you start to think about this, it's really more about, when you're recalibrating, it's making them lighter to carry, not heavier. So this is a common theme that came up when I was at the conference, and it came up on a few occasions. But this idea that, we hear these ideas that two things came up. One was we hear that we live for today because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, right? Which is again, the idea of being present is really important, and making sure that we're purposeful. But there can be this side effect of that where we try to do too much in a day, in a week, in a month. So we hear competing, we also hear the idea that, and I think, I can't remember who said this, but the idea that we're really good, we're not really good at planning too far down the road. We want to make sure we plan really short term or really long term, but the middle ground doesn't get prepared nearly as well. I'm paraphrasing and I butchered it completely, but nonetheless, I think it's important to know that we do have largely more time than we think. And by spreading things out a bit more, we'll be able to impact the quality of our output, right? So that, I think, is really, really important. So the other thing that kept coming up, and it's been coming up not just at that event, but I've seen it come up a lot more lately. And if you saw the Mark Manson video interview that I did, and listen to that podcast episode, this idea of optimization, this optimization culture, is kind of wearing thin on a lot of people. We end up processing a life instead of living one. And the trap can be that as we're trying to prepare and plan and be productive, is that we end up processing instead of living, right? So I think that that's worth keeping in mind as we kind of think about this phase of recalibration. So what we're going to talk about is refining what remains. I'll give you, when I'm looking at mine, I know there's a few things that I wrote down. In fact, quite a few in the reflection phase. Let me just take a quick peek here. I'll come out of camera view for a second, but there's some, I basically was saying things like, there's some personal stuff that I didn't anticipate that popped up. A lot of notes that I took at the conference that I'm going to want to put into place. I have a new annual axiom, so which I will have to kind of run everything through. And that's really the core of what I reflected upon while we were in that previous phase. So now it's about refining what remains. Like, do these intentions still deserve your energy? Okay. So now that you've kind of had a sense of what reality is, and you've got this clear sense of it. And again, you may have to go back to the reflection phase and add more. It's a lot like the record and reflect phase in the ready retreat. So what do you do with it? Well, now we're talking about editing with maturity. So some intentions are going to still stand. Hey, let's restate them clearly, but make them lighter to carry and not heavier. Again, this is this idea of catching up. So noting that you feel like you're behind, how do you put yourself in a better position to move forward, right? Some need adjusting. So these vague verbs that we have a sense, we often when we're using vague verbs, it's because we just don't quite know what we want to do. So things like work on show up instead of a level of tolerance, like a greater level of, we get too tolerant with it, work on instead of right, or even craft can be a bit more of a specific word than work on. Not improve, but like by how much. So there needs to be a level of precision here, but you don't want to go too precise either, because if you go too precise and you fall short, that's why I love the principle of tolerance that I talk about in my upcoming book. Productiveness, by the way. And then some just might need releasing. There's things that I set out, that I mapped out to do during the Ready Retreat, that I'm going to let go of. Again, it doesn't mean permanently let go of. It's being honest with your season. It's the seasonal honesty that I'm talking about here. So let what doesn't belong go for now. And it could be a variety of reasons. We talked about this in the previous phase. Capacity, external or internal forces, a variety of things. So it's okay to release them, especially if you are a member of Time Crafting Trust and you know that we have another Ready Retreat scheduled in a couple of months. You can say, okay, well, I'll bring it back then. I'll revisit it then. So what remains after this editing is what's going to get your full attention going forward. So which path, and we're talking about attention paths here, and this is where you can go broader with them. So which path does each intention need now? Like, how much time am I giving this? That time. And remember, every attention path leans quantitative. So the time-based ones lean more quantitative, right? And then more qualitative, you get to those themes, which if you were in the Ready Retreat, you've got some themes lined up. So which path does each intention need? This is where you can harness your attention towards them. Hey, what resource, people, or things that I have that are available to me? Energy. What does my energy allow right now? We're going into the summer, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. What does that look like? I can tell you during the entire month of July, we're going to be basic empty nesters here. So there's a level of energy that I might be able to harness that I might not be able to harness at any other time of year. Certainly not in like months like, say, December, when the holidays are around. And certainly not August, or even this month, June, where the whole family's here. And August, when, it's the summertime. So again, being realistic is helpful here. What kind of activity, what type of work is this actually asking of me? That's where work on doesn't work. So getting more specific around that. And then finally, the theme. Does this still align with what matters this season? So if you're familiar with attention paths, this is where you can harness their power. If you're not, you should pick up the book, The Productivity Diet. Or, there's other ways to lean into attention paths more, and I'll get to that near the tail end of our time here today. So now we're going to recalibrate. So we're going to spend some time on that. I'm going to give you, again, about the same amount of time that I gave you for the reflection phase. If you don't get all of it done, that's totally fine. Again, I encourage you to, as Sarah mentioned, screenshot the slides, take some time on your own. You have this available to you as a Time Crafting Trust member. You're going to be able to go in and look at this as you need. Basically, my plan after this is to get things into Time Crafting Trust as quickly as possible, so that way you've got the video that you can watch there. So let's get started. I'm going to set a timer. I'll go back to this, and I'll oscillate between these as we make our way through. So I'll start the timer, and we'll get going now. It's fine. Feel free to oscillate between this phase and the previous phase if it works. We've got about 5 minutes left. So if you're finding that you're stuck in the recalibration phase, you can circle back and reflect and then recalibrate. So you can go between both. We'll be done here in 5 minutes and move on to phase 3. All right, we are back. Hope that went well for you. And as I mentioned, oscillating between them, I'm going to pop Dan's point up here with the exclamation point, no less. So when I mentioned cadence in phase one, it got me thinking that I might be missing something. Are you suggesting one needs to set up theming based on the perceived amount of work to be accomplished? I think you need to keep cadence in account when you are theming. So cadence lives in everything. Your themes, projects, all of that. One of the things, and basically cadence is, for lack of a better term, at least in this instance, I'm going to say it lives. It's the idea that rest is part of the work, and so when you're keeping cadence in mind, you're not going to overwhelm yourself. You're not going to burn out nearly. The likelihood of burnout is lower. So you're basically managing expectations in a better way. So what I mean by that is, and cadence also plays a role in theming in a variety of ways, such as how much effort you want to apply across to it, let's say to a type of task or to a project or what have you over the course of an expected period of time or a set period of time. So for example, if I'm working on, well, I'll give you a great example. So if I am working on the new program that I surveyed my audience about when I said, help me build something for you that you want, and I analyzed everything and found the most common ground, like 60% of the folks definitively said this, and at least another 25% said a version of it. Keeping cadence in mind is, for me in that instance, is, okay, how do I deliver that with both quality and quantity in mind? So in other words, how do I apply enough consistent or sustainable, again, it's sustainability and consistency. How do I make measured progress on this? So there's the quantitative part over the time that I want between my own self-imposed deadline, which you may not have. You may have external deadlines. So that way I can get the best outcome that I can when I deliver it, when I maybe if you're not doing this on your own, maybe if you work for somebody else, when I hand it in. So in that instance, would that be better to apply a horizontal theme to that project? So am I going to work on this program 5 days a week over a set number of weeks? Or am I going to have that project, I don't dedicate specific time to that project, but I use attention paths or daily themes to kind of say, oh, well, today is my transmission day for me, let's say, or let's use somebody else's example. So today is my my optimization day, even though I just said optimization earlier on is maybe not the best, but let's just say it's optimization. Okay, so I'm going to spend optimizing this project. So it's figuring out like what level of consistent attention that you need to give to something that you can sustain. We hear about consistency all the time, but we don't hear about sustaining, like sustainability. We hear about sustainability in words like environmental concerns and climate and all that, but we don't really hear about it in terms of like the work that we're doing. So recalibration is actually a really good time to look at this, because it's like, okay, can I give this effort in a sustainable way? Can I give my attention and my energy, all the things that live within time? Can I give that? Can I offer that? If not, what does that cadence look like? What is the ideal cadence? I want to say that it's, in some instances, you're going to have to forego that idea as much as you might want it to be the way you want it to be. You may have to compromise and say, hey, look, it'd be great if I could only do this once per week or set aside an hour a day for this, but in this instance, I can't. So when you're working through that phase of the Ready Retreat, And for those that look at the retreat map and such, cadence is such an important part because, and we see this in sports too, right? The idea of rhythm, like an example would be, do you rest when the goalie or the player is on a hot streak? Like goaltenders are a great example in hockey. As a Canadian, I'll bring that up. You've got two goalies, but this goalie that came out of nowhere else. I mean, great example. And Sarah can definitely, we chatted about this earlier today. Is the goalie that the Carolina Hurricanes brought in, Brandon Bussey, who's on a hot streak? Do you take him out because your starting goaltenders come back in, or do you keep that guy in there because you've got a hot streak? Or if a few years ago, Russell Westbrook of the Oklahoma City Thunder was doing really well and so on and so forth, but the playoffs were coming up, do you rest that? Do you hear about load management? Do you rest that person so that way they're ready for the playoffs with the risk that they might lose that edge? So cadence is something we don't think about, and I think it's important, and now is really important as you're going through the ready return here, because some of you may have already noticed that, you know what, I haven't been applying the sessions I need to, or the attention I need to, or what have you, to this, and that's the gap. Or maybe it's I can't do that, and so the gap is I need to figure out what's reasoned, like what's a reasonable approach to this. So that's what I'm talking about. If you're doing a home improvement project, for example, the gap could be I don't have enough finances to do it. The gap could be I have all the finances, so that's not the issue, but dealing with external contractors, I have to keep that in mind. It could be I'd like to do all of these things, but I cannot. So how many of them can I do? So that's cadence plays a role in all of that stuff. I know I threw a lot out there, but hopefully that kind of gives you a sense of what I'm talking about. I want to make sure that we get to everything here. So let's move on to phase 3, which is reestablish. So much like the ready retreat, the ready return, these phases build on top of each other and they oscillate back and forth. So this is where everything kind of integrates. You've seen the reality, you've refined your intentions. I spent some time doing it as well. And I have to say, letting go of one thing that I really, really want to do, and it's like in the back of my head, I know it's something that I want to devote a ton of attention to. I can't. It's not the right season. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to, if something pops into my head, I'm not going to add it to the mix for, later delivery. But literally, while we were in that recalibration phase, I moved 2 things around on my desk that were throwing attention in that direction and said, nope, and pushed it off to the side, and it felt good to release it. So this actually dovetails back into what, Dan, you asked and what I was just talking about. Like, how does this fit into your actual life? Actual life, not your ideal life, not your best week. So this is the cadence part. It's the rhythm you can sustain, not the pace that you can sprint. So we're reestablishing cadence. So this is where, again, everything integrates here. So ask yourself, is this livable? Does this rhythm reduce friction or create more? And interestingly, like I said about phase 1, don't try to fix, the reflection. Don't try to fix it. You might have found fixes and you may have done something, but the resistance of that is good. Now this is the fixable part. So I actually jumped ahead a little bit when I pushed that thing off to the side, but that's okay. That's how these things, that's why it's these all kind of work together. What's one concrete next step per intention with a deadline to anchor it? For that, releasing was part of the recalibration phase for me. Okay, so what's one concrete step per intention I'm keeping around that will allow me to push it forward? What's that deadline look like? Like this anchor. And by the way, for those of you that took the ready retreat, maybe the deadline is, the end of that season. That could be the deadline, the very end. It could be next week. I have one thing that my deadline for it is next week. So what's the cadence? Is it daily? Is it daily theme? Is it a weekly sprint? Horizontal theme window. I'm not a paid attendee. I don't know what that means, Dan. So what's the cadence? Is it like, okay, I have a daily theme. I'm going to apply my daily theme to that project, to that initiative, to that role area, what have you? Is it a weekly, like I'm going to dedicate this whole week to getting this thing from point A to point Z or Z? Is it a horizontal theme window? Is it a horizontal theme? You're going to apply consistent effort, attention across multiple sessions. If you, by the way, if you didn't take the Ready Retreat, totally fine. Again, this all will still work for you. So remember, cadence breathes. It's not a streak. It's not pressure. It's a pattern that you can return to and adjust as the season unfolds. So I talk about this in my book, upcoming book, The Productiveness. And yes, Dan, that was a nice lead in. Well done. It's like you knew what was going to happen. You didn't, but it's nice. So first off, name it and build from there. It's really interesting to go into this, and I know we're probably going to run a little bit long for those of you. We're going to run longer than 90 minutes, I think, at this point, but that's fair. I mean, Tim off the top said, not enough time. We'll give a bit more time here. So these are the phases of momentum. I call it these types of momentum. So I just came back from Kit's Craft and Commerce. There is a lot of momentum that's built there. So I'm going to go through these phases right now. And right now I want to sustain that. So again, this is a good time for me to be doing this with you. So Go-mentum is what I call Go-mentum, and I love the mentum aspect of this and rhyming with momentum. So this is my own kind of creation. It's not rooted necessarily in anything purely scientific, although for those that are watching and can find rooting in it, I'd love to hear from you on that. But this is just more of an emotional feeling kind of thing. So Go-mentum, it's that initial spark. It's the launch energy. It's powerful, but it's brief. So that's the initial spark. I want to do this. Okay, I've got this launch go powerful but brief. And I experienced that at Craft and Commerce on multiple things. Now, one of those things I've already let go of because it's not the right season. Another one of those things I'm leaning into. It's been added to the season. So flow-mentum is that middle. This is why I'm bringing those two things up. So flow-mentum is the rolling middle. It's like, it's the hum of a well-tuned rhythm. It's fragile, but it's sustaining, right? So now, and this is interesting because environment, I think, can play a role in this too, is I'm back from Boise, now back in Victoria, Canada, where I live. Being in that other environment alone, working in solitude, was great for that Go-mentum piece. And the after effects, the residual, I talk about, Cal Newport talks about attention residue, and often it's viewed as a negative thing, but it can be a positive thing because that event attention residue definitely rubbed off on me in the right way. So now that I'm back home, what do I do to keep this flow going? And that's what this reestablishing is going to be. Now, instantly, I knew that the one thing that I had the spark for, not being in the right season, I think that if I had kept going with it, both of those things that I thought of would suffer, would struggle. So I pushed one aside. So that way flow-mentum can be maintained and sustained, more importantly, with that other initiative. And then slow-mentum, that's where I'm going to be spending my time with. Now that I've kind of set that up, it's the quiet, it's the nearly invisible kind. It's showing up gently but never stopping. This is where the cadence thrives. So it becomes a rhythm, ritualized to a degree. And then by the time, like that, basically, you could argue that these are the phases of going from start to finish. Because the finish isn't, you get to the finish line, and this is an interesting thing. The amount, the feeling of happiness, maybe even you want to go as far as euphoria or satisfaction, that comes from getting your email to inbox zero and finishing a major project, that you may think that they are different, and the length of time that they last should be monumentally different based on, oh, well, the email I get done every single day, and this initiative took me a lot longer. But that hit that you get is very similar. That lasting happiness doesn't stick around very long for that big project. Barely more than the thing from getting to inbox zero. So it's easier to get to inbox zero consistently than to finish that big thing. So the payoff doesn't feel as big as it should. So that's why I don't have like a thing at the end here is the finish line or what have you. It's usually the slow momentum. And then if anything, when you get to the finish line, it's go momentum again. But it's often, that's where you should find the next thing, or you should go to the next thing. So what momentum are you in right now? Which momentum are you in? So what we're going to do now is we're going to reestablish. And that's where we're at here. So I can feel that where we're going with this. So that's the next phase. We're going to spend 15 minutes on this, and then we'll get close to wrapping up here. So like I said, we're going to run a little bit long. But let's work on this phase now. I'll oscillate back to this slide here, and let's get started. All right. So now that we've gone through all three phases, and keep in mind that you can go through these on your own. You can take as much time as you want, especially if you are inside of the Time Crafting Trust community. You've got access to this. You can pause it. You can go through each phase as you want. This is one entire video, though, inside of the course. For this iteration, at least. We may split it up again. We may even split it up for this one. We'll see how it goes. I'll just, once I go through the editing process. But now we're into this from writing to sharing. So while we go through this, getting some insights, some feedback, things that surfaced for you. Remember, the goal here isn't to report. It's really just to reflect. Now, I know here on YouTube, I can't exactly have people come up on screen and talk about it. But for those that are here live, I'd love to hear your comments of how the Ready Return surfaced for you as we went through it here. So here's some questions that I want to run by you. So this may spur on some chat conversations. So what came up? Like, what changed while you were working through this? So were there some things? And I noticed that when I was going through my reestablishing, some things, the things that were closest changed. So the things that are going on in June and July for me changed more than August and September. So it's more of a, and I mean, I was pretty defined in August and September. It's going to be around the book productiveness. So that didn't change. Now, what was interesting is when I wrote down, and this might help you later as you go through this again, is I actually put the list of the months for each of those themes. So that's the time frame. And then I put Flowmentum in one column and Slowmentum in the other. And I looked at Slowmentum as like, these things are kind of going on in the background, like their initiative. So I have like several things that are in there, 3 actually at the most for each. And then the most I would have in the Flowmentum were 3. And that only happened in, it happened in June, July, and August. And then September, there's just one thing. So what surprised you? That's another thing to keep in mind. Like what was something that surprised you? What surprised me is that I was pretty much already on the right track. There was a couple of things that were changed when I went through this, but I was pretty much on the right track. Again, I'm a little bit behind as we talked about, but I'm not going to try to fix that. I'm just noting it. What feels lighter now that you've named it? Honestly, for me, and this could be the same for you, is by removing and releasing some of those things and then being more deliberate about the naming of those months and what goes on, that feels lighter. What feels heavier but clearer is I will have to say that the rest of this month feels a bit heavier. I think that's also residual effects from the travel. And then July feels heavier in this moment, but I have a feeling that when I'm in July, it will be fine. And interestingly, September feels heavier only because I've isolated that as the book month, right? So that means there's a lot of weight to that. And then what's one thing you're carrying forward? So, I think the biggest thing that I'm carrying forward after going through this experience is, again, I was pretty much on the right track. That's how it felt. So to me, I think that's a big thing. Share, like Tim, this is great. I'm gonna put yours in here, Tim. So Tim just said, I've just focused on my intentions for June, but these almost all extend through the rest of the summer. Some finish this month. So again, you've got that, and I noticed that too. There were things that actually I have in the Flowmentum kind of idea that's going on right now. Those things are happening for me more intensely in June, but then they move into Slowmentum through the rest of those months. So yeah, I can definitely see that. And to follow up with what you said, mostly I've been refreshing the plan and identifying what I need to take them forward, like time blocks, regular time, my wife, and courage. Yeah. And I mean, that's just it. And it's, as I was looking at mine, and we'll jump back here to, we'll go to the full phase here. I'll bring the slides back in here in a minute. But I think what's also interesting is when there's less stuff that I'm focused on, it feels odd. I'm sure that might be the same thing for you, at least in some degree. And so I wonder what will fill the time. But that's not what we're trying to fill. It's, again, we're looking at the things that live within time. So, Tim, with what you brought up, it's about those things that live within. So, Dan, you put not nearly as much progress as I had hoped. Okay, so number one, just use that as data. I can release at least one item for now. That's good. And whether this is the external obstruction, yes. So just, again, the data points there, I think, are really important. Like, not nearly as much progress as I'd hoped. I think that if you're looking at it as a data point, like, okay, and remember, I think that that's something to revisit next season or the next time that you've got. And the aberration could be this other project that you might have going on that would not normally be happening at this time of year. So keep that in mind as well. Tim, now I need to consider when the necessary time blocks could actually happen. Yeah. And that's where you can start to look at things like, okay, well, do I need to apply monthly themes, horizontal themes? I think is probably what you're looking at, that sort of thing. Definitely. Let's look at Ellie. Ellie, who's also a member of Time Crafting Trust, and she's listed her time crafting type here, was an underplanner. And I was warned I might choose too little structure, and that was correct. I applied more structure today. Whether it's enough now, you'll see. And yes, that's just it. And interestingly, as an avoidant adapter, I looked at that one big thing, the book, in September, and seeing it's the one big thing, the one thing, as Jay Papasan and Gary Keller would say. I had the pleasure of meeting Jay Papasan, by the way, for the first time in person at Crafting Commerce. It was great conversations that we had. I feel like as an avoidant adapter, I would probably look at everything but the book. And we talk about fear and those things as well. And Tim, once again, but the real challenges are to be courageous, yep, and to fit in all the regular time things I want to do, always a big issue. Yeah, and I think that everything everywhere all at once thing we all kind of can fall prey to, the idea that, I want to do all the things. It's more about the attention that we devote to those things. And I mean, that's why I did list some things in that slow momentum kind of area, because that way I can say, okay, well, I want to work on my kit stuff that I learned, but I don't need to finish it. I just need to have it going on in the background, right? There's a few of those things like wellness practices, those kind of things. I think they can show up. So these are all really, really valuable things that we can look at. So as we kind of make our way to the end of the Ready Return today. And by the way, for those of you that were here live and participated in it, and you're like, what is this thing? What is Mike doing? Why is he sitting over there in the corner, barely like, what's he doing? What's going on? Thank you for checking it out. Hopefully it was valuable to you. This is again, we've done this inside the community multiple times. And so for those of you that are not members of Time Crafting Trust that took part in this, again, I hope this was valuable. I'd love to see what you think in the comments as well, whether you work here live or in the replay. So remember, this is a checkpoint and not a finish line. You have a clearer picture of where things actually landed. You may not have the absolute clear picture or the clear picture, but you have some more clarity. You've recalibrated intentions. They're going to be lighter, hopefully, more honest, more specific. You've used that data to help you with that, what actually happened versus what you imagined. Regular reflection will help you with this too, to recognize, oh, okay, well, this is a pattern. So therefore, this means that. And then a cadence, and I've capitalized cadence for a reason because it's one of the principles of productiveness that you can return to and then adjust as the season continues. So the kicker here is the real work isn't just showing up once, it's in showing up honestly. This is all part of the practice. So before you go, and this is for those that are, and there are people here that are participating live right now. Like I said, this would normally be just isolated inside of our Time Crafting Trust community. And it normally lives there. The Ready Return normally lives exclusively inside of Time Crafting Trust. But this time around, I wanted to bring it out to everyone to see and to see what happens. And again, it's an experiment. experiments. And Laura talks about tiny experiments. This is an experiment. When it's inside the community, there's a level of robustness that you can't quite get here on YouTube. You could see that a lot of the folks here that were chiming in with comments and such that I highlighted are members of Time Crafting Trust. And this is available to Time Crafting Trust alongside a few Ready Retreats per year, which is the precursor to this. So for those of you that saw the June Lyceum and also grabbed the retreat map and such, the Ready Retreat is a much more expanded version of that. In fact, a far more expanded version of that. There's also focus fix sessions every weekday, and this is where we go in and we fix our focus. When I say fix, I don't mean repair, I mean fix. Dial in our focus on things like what we're talking about here. So when Tim mentions he's looking for time blocks, there are literally 2 blocks of time 5 days a week where you could fix your focus on these intentions. We create this structure for you. And it's there for you if you want it. And there's a community of people, which you can see here, that have been participating live today, that are doing this work alongside you. It's not just me. It's the closest that you can get direct access to me for sure. But there's a wide variety of people there from all over the world that are in this community. And so today you got that rare look at what membership looks like from the inside. Now, if you want to be part of the next Ready Retreat that is scheduled in September, and then have the Ready Return as a regular check-in, which what this was, we have an offer right now, and I think Sarah can find it. I'm going to give her enough time to go grab the paywall link, but we have an offer. The membership is open as of right now. The membership is always open. You can join anytime. June 20th is World Productivity Day. The reason it's called World Productivity Day is there's a variety of thoughts around it. It's often referred to as, the reason it's called that is because it is the longest day in the Northern Hemisphere where daylight hours exist, because it's the first full day of summer. But it's been kind of co-opted into, oh, look, you have more time in the day to do things, so therefore it's World Productivity Day. And if you do some digging around, you'll see there's a variety of reasons why it exists. But for lack of a better term, I'm piggybacking off of that. So for those of you that are interested in becoming a member of Time Crafting Trust, and you're not already a member or have not been a member before, until June 20th, which is as of this recording, or as of this live stream, is merely 3 days away, you can join us for $1 for your first month. And then subsequent months, you'll pay regular price. You can always upgrade to an annual membership. Great job, Sarah, for throwing that in there. Thanks. It's in the chat right now. If you're joining us live, we'll pin it as a pinned comment here when the live stream's over. So if you're interested, this offer, though, it ends June 20th. So at the end of World Productivity Day, the ability to join us for $1 US dollars. So it's like $1.30 Canadian, I guess, at this point, and a variety of whatever currency you have. But nonetheless, $1 for the first month. And again, the idea is you've not been a Time Crafting Trust premium member before. So we used to have active people in the community that were in the community that got it as part of courses or whatever. You can, if you're one of those folks, you can definitely take advantage of this offer. But if you're an active member, this is not for active members. This is for new members only. There is no pressure. It's just really an honest invitation. We would love for you to be part of this small but mighty community. Got about 120 people in the community right now. There's a lot there that you can, kind of take with you on your time crafting journey. So again, this offer closes on June 20th. For those that are already members, thank you for being members. I really do appreciate it. We've got a lot more stuff coming up, and I really do appreciate you being a part of this community. And there's lots more that we're going to be doing inside the community with relation and correlated to the Ready Retreat and the Ready Return, of course. So that's it. The Ready Return is complete. Thank you so much for being here live today. The next Ready Retreat is scheduled for September. We will release those dates as soon as they are confirmed. And for those of you that are members of Time Crafting Trust or who are going to become members of Time Crafting Trust, you have access to this until obviously we do the next one, in which case it'll be moved into the next Ready Return. But for now, this program is available for you inside of the community. We're gonna put these take this video, edit it down, make it palatable, I guess more palatable for the course itself. But I hope for those of you that joined us today, that you or watching the replay or what have you, that you got something out of this, because I think whether you've taken the Ready Retreat or whether you hadn't, whether you joined me for the retreat live stream that we did for the June Lyceum or you did not, there is something that you could take away from this for sure. So thanks to everyone for being here today. I really do appreciate you being here. I mean, I love going through this on my own as well, and with you, but doing this today was really helpful for me because of the events that were taking place the last week or so. And so to put myself in this position to be able to look at this and do it with you, I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you got something out of it today as well. Hopefully you got something that you'll be able to take with you and return to as you need. So thanks so much for being here. For those that are in Time Crafting Trust, we'll have this finalized video and everything ready for you as soon as possible. Take care. And until next time, remember, stop doing productive and start being productive. We'll see you later.